Welcome back to the Internet Capsule. Okay, today we're doing something a little different. We're stepping away from the endless scrolling, the noise, and the sheer chaos of everyday life, and we're taking a deep, uniquely peaceful dive into the Gospel of John. Now, you might be wondering, why John? Well, unlike the other Gospels that often read like, fast-paced history, John is incredibly poetic. It reads almost like a meditation. So think of this explainer as a bit of an oasis for you, a really calm, measured look at a text that's been offering people profound comfort for literally thousands of years. Let's jump right in by leaning into the core promise of this text. Our modern lives are, let's face it, exhausting. We are constantly flooded with notifications and endless news feeds, and it just leaves us perpetually drained. But the source material frames it beautifully. If you're tired, anxious, or just need peace, this space was made for you. So today, we're going to trace this really amazing thematic journey of light and life through John's narrative to find some genuine, lasting rest. Section 1. Light shines in the darkness. You know what's really fascinating? Unlike the other accounts, John doesn't kick things off with a manger scene or a long family tree. It opens with this massive, cosmic, yet super comforting promise. It tells us that in the Word was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. But here's the absolute best part. The definitive victory is declared before the story even gets going. The darkness has not and literally cannot overcome that light. It's an absolute triumph right from the jump. No matter how dark things get around us, that light simply cannot be put out. But then, despite all that immense cosmic power, the narrative zooms right in on simple, everyday human connection. Two early followers spot Jesus. They call him Rabbi, which just means teacher, and they ask where he's staying. Now, back then, a prominent religious teacher would usually hit you with a rigorous theological exam to see if you were even worthy to hang out with them. Jesus doesn't do that at all. He just offers this incredibly gentle, open invitation. Come, and you will see. He's basically saying, just come rest in my presence. No need to prove yourself. And this brings us to a perfect illustration of how much we struggle to actually grasp spiritual peace. We meet Nicodemus. He's a religious leader who sneaks out to see Jesus at night, under the cover of literal darkness, searching for the light. Jesus starts talking about being born again by the Spirit, and Nicodemus is completely lost. He asks this purely physical question: how can someone be born when they are old? And honestly, isn't that just like us? We constantly overcomplicate peace. We look for physical, tangible fixes for our deep spiritual burnout. But Jesus patiently walks him through it, bringing the light of truth right into Nicodemus's nighttime confusion. Section 2. Living water and true bread. Okay, so we move from the cool night air with Nicodemus straight into the sweltering heat of the day. It's around noon at Jacob's well, and Jesus strikes up a conversation with a Samaritan woman drawing water. Now, culturally, women usually did this together in the cool early morning. The fact that she's there alone during the hottest part of the day, it tells us she was an outcast. She was actively avoiding people. Jesus asks her for a drink, but then he completely flips the script and offers her something infinitely better. He says that whoever drinks the living water he gives will never thirst again. Offering this welling up, permanent end to spiritual exhaustion to a total outcast, that makes the peace he brings so incredibly radical. Building right on that idea of provision, the story takes us to a massive crowd on a mountainside. Jesus has just miraculously fed 5,000 people using only 5 small barley loaves and 2 little fish. Naturally, the crowd is thrilled and they want more of this free physical food. But Jesus redirects their focus. He tells them, I am the bread of life, promising that whoever comes to him will never go hungry. It really makes you stop and think, right? How often are we chasing after these temporary, quick fixes for our exhaustion when what we actually need is enduring sustenance? He's offering himself as that ultimate, lasting nourishment. Section 3. The Good Shepherd brings peace. So Jesus uses this amazing analogy. He contrasts himself with a hired hand, the kind of guy who just abandons the flock and runs away the second a wolf shows up. A true good shepherd operates totally differently. He doesn't sneak in, he enters right through the front gate. And this is beautiful. He calls his own sheep by their unique names. It's a deep individual recognition. He leads them to safe pasture, and ultimately he's willing to lay down his life for them. It paints this incredibly comforting picture of a protector who intimately knows you, offering total security when the wolves of anxiety start closing in. And right before his ultimate trial, Jesus knows his disciples are totally gripped by anxiety and grief because he's told them he's leaving. So he gives them this unbelievable promise. He draws a really stark line between the fragile, chaotic peace of the world and the deep, divine peace he's offering. He tells them, almost like a quiet whisper for the soul, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Section 4, the ultimate act of love. As Jesus is arrested and stands before the Roman governor Pilate, we experience this sharp pivot from divine peace straight back into earthly confusion. Pilate is faced with Jesus, who claims to testify to the truth, and Pilate just responds with this incredibly cynical question, what is truth? Wow, talk about a question that echoes in our modern world, right? We are constantly debating and questioning literally everything. But it perfectly highlights the chaos of the world in stark contrast to Jesus. He just stands there, quietly in control, proving that peace isn't found in endless debates, but in resting securely in who he is. The events of the Passion unfold in this relentless, totally exhausting physical journey. Just look at the timeline. From the nighttime betrayal in the garden to the early morning trials in the high priest's courtyard and Pilate's palace. Then by noon, he's marched out to the stone pavement in Golgotha for the crucifixion. And before sunset, he's laid in a new tomb. It's a grueling, frantic sequence of events. Yet, amidst all of that worldly chaos and movement, Jesus maintains absolute internal spiritual peace. He doesn't resist. He willingly lays down his life, exactly like the Good Shepherd said he would. Right before he bows his head on the cross, Jesus utters his final words, "It is finished." Now, in the original Greek, the word used here is tetelestai, and this is fascinating. It's actually an ancient accounting term meaning paid in full. So this isn't some weak gasp of defeat from a victim. In the context of John's Gospel, it's a powerful, peaceful shout of victory. The debt is settled. The work of salvation, the ultimate act of love he was sent to accomplish, is perfectly and entirely complete. Section 5. Resurrection and Gentle Restoration. It's early in the morning, still dark outside, and Mary Magdalene is weeping by the empty tomb. She actually sees Jesus but mistakes him for the gardener. Now, Jesus doesn't reveal his resurrected glory with, a terrifying earthquake or a blinding flash of light. Instead, he takes that immense cosmic power we talked about at the very beginning and he funnels it into the most intimate gesture imaginable. He just gently calls her name, Mary. And instantly she knows it's him crying out Rabboni, which means teacher. It is such a quiet, tender morning of restoration. And that profound peace just continues to ripple outward. The disciples are literally hiding in a locked room because they're terrified of the authorities. Suddenly, Jesus is just there, saying, "Peace be with you." But Thomas wasn't around for that, and he famously demands physical proof, declaring he won't believe unless he sees the nail marks. A week later, Jesus appears again. And he doesn't yell at Thomas, he doesn't condemn his skepticism, he completely bypasses all that doubt by gently offering the exact physical proof Thomas asked for. And Thomas's doubt is instantly transformed into this massive declaration, "My Lord and my God." Jesus simply meets him exactly where he is, offering complete peace. Toward the very end of the text, we get this incredibly delightful, almost surprising little detail. The disciples are out fishing on the Sea of Galilee, but they've caught absolutely nothing all night long. Jesus calls out from the shore, tells them to cast their net on the right side, and they drag in this massive haul, exactly 153 large fish. But here's the miraculous part. Even with all those fish, the text makes a specific point to tell us the net is not torn. It's this beautiful, subtle metaphor for God's grace. It can hold immense, overwhelming abundance without ever tearing or failing under the pressure. Once they get to shore, Jesus has this cozy fire of burning coals going, cooking up some bread and fish. And over this peaceful breakfast, Jesus pulls Peter aside. Remember, Peter had completely panicked and denied even knowing Jesus 3 times during the chaos of the trials. So Jesus asks him this one question, 3 times. "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Look at what he's doing here. Jesus isn't demanding a groveling apology. He's not asking for a promise on how Peter's going to do better next time. He just asks for his love. With every single question, he's offering Peter a totally shame-free, peaceful restoration of his broken spirit. After Peter affirms his love, Jesus doesn't hand him some heavy, burdensome to-do list to earn his way back. He gives him a simple, caring mandate to look after others, feed my sheep. And then he gives him the exact same gentle invitation he offered at the very beginning of his ministry. Follow me. The whole thing comes full circle, right back to simply resting in his presence. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've watched how the Gospel of John weaves this incredible narrative of light breaking through the dark, of living water, and of a good shepherd who intimately knows his flock by name.
So, the question I really want to leave you with is this. Are you ready to lay down your anxieties and step into the light and rest of the Good Shepherd today? Thank you so much for exploring this text with us here on the Internet Capsule. Take a deep breath,